Logic Pro 10.5 introduces live loops. This is probably one of the bigger feature updates that's been seen in Logic or in an integrated digital audio workstation in years, probably in like 20 years or something. I don't know. It's all seemed to be about the same, where you just have a multi-track environment that's like a linear, starts from zero time and then ends at the end of your project to infinity, let's suggest, but to your multiple minutes. And then in this, you have that multi-track view where you're just kind of layering and stacking these different sections so that they're coming together, and so you can kind of visualize how those sounds are coming together. I think now, in opposition to that, there's programs like Ableton, which had non-linear audio production development. And that's kind of complicated to say, but I think it was a different way of visualizing the interface so that you could trigger loops in time in a measure or in a bar, and those would trigger appropriately in that measure. And then when you had that setup of, a couple loops that would cycle through, you could trigger those on and off, and you could kind of create changes to whatever that sound was. And then you could record that or send that out. That's kind of, I don't know, that's an incomplete way of explaining Ableton. But the idea in Logic Pro 10 here is they're kind of merging those two environments, so you have them both available to you in your digital audio workstation space at any time. And so the live loops representation that we get in Logic Pro 10 is this grid of kind of chiclet-style buttons that you've become accustomed to seeing on an iPhone or something like that. But you have this grid of buttons, and then in that, you can drop in loops that you have. So these real instrument loops and the loop library that you have, you can bring those over and set those up in track locations, but you just have this block there. And then next to that, you can grab a different loop or a similar loop and then drag that into the second block. And so what happens is that if you were to tap or click on that loop, you would get a play button, and it would play that one loop all the way through to the end of the loop. And then if you were to trigger that stem of loops vertically, it would play all of the loops that you would set up in that vertical column at the same time to play in time with each other. And then it would create a mix of music. It's pretty cool. It's a really nice and fast way to kind of demo out ideas. And all this time, you're not recording these ideas necessarily. You're just kind of playing them live, starting and stopping them live, and then trying to come up with sort of the mixed performance of how you'd want these stems to come together in a final production. And so it's really cool. You can have your drum track in there, or you can have a couple different variations of a drum track if you want to go between a different beat or a different velocity of rhythm during the chorus section to the verse section to the bridge. You can kind of break those pieces up. Similarly, like if you go down next to like your bass loops, you could have a bass line that was started in the intro and then change during the first verse, and then become some simplified refrain during the chorus, and then kind of change out again for the rest of it, along with the lead, along with whatever else or whatever other textures you want to add into your tracking.